All right, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Myers, statewide disaster recovery coordinator at the Economic Development Department. You're tuned in to the live stream of the weekly wrap up. Our goal is to update you on all the recovery, community, and upcoming events within 15 minutes. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, podcast, and Twitter. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a special guest today. His name is Mike Baca, CIO at the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department. The New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department has two new tools that can help businesses calculate the gross receipts tax. With that, I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Mike.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Um, my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I am honored. Our department and the Economic Development Department work closely on many projects, and it's fun to be on your podcast. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.
The subject of the day, and mind you, tax and rev is bigger than just tax and rev. We're also your motor vehicle department, which makes us the two most popular government departments in all of history. I love working here, though. It's great. So on the tax side, we had an interesting problem present itself a year ago. So the story starts back in 2018 with the South Dakota versus Wayfair decision. And I'm not a legal expert, so I'm just going to kind of sum that up real quickly. Back in the day, if you bought something on Amazon.com or any of the usual online realtors or retailers, you didn't have to pay much of a sales tax at all versus if you bought it in person from a local mom and pop shop. Well, the Wayfair decision flipped all of that on its head and started doing GRT, our sales tax, directed to the destination instead of where you bought it. So that means that if Amazon ships a package to me, Mike Baca, out in the county, they have to charge county sales tax. If they ship it to me at my office in the city, they have to pay the city sales tax. And so for every sale, there was a different tax. And it got very complicated very quick. On top of that, we had a lot of people in New Mexico, taxpayers, local taxpayers, who had to deal with the decision as well. It wasn't just those giant retailers that are selling online, it was folks in the state. It was tough for them, especially the smaller organizations and the kind of the niche organizations. And I'll tell you about two of those. Here's an example. We have a coffee shop right around the corner for me. Shameless plug for my favorite coffee, O'Horry's Coffee. They sell a great cup of coffee, but they also sell merchandise. And during the pandemic and even now today, people can go and buy stuff from O'Horry's and have it shipped to them. You know, your favorite bag of coffee beans or a cute coffee cup, whatever. But when they have it shipped, O'Horry's has to figure out the sales tax to the destination that they're shipping it to. That turned out to be really hard. If you're doing a lot of sales and you had to look up each address one at a time, it turned out to be quite a bit of work. So what we did was we partnered with the University of New Mexico Earth Data Analysis Center. They are GIS experts. GIS is Geographic Information Systems, those things that make our maps really easy. They can use those types of systems to really zero in on what kind of tax we have to pay. So we partnered with them and we built an API which can plug into most tax software, and through the tax software they can find out what the latest tax rate is for any given address in New Mexico. Of course, it's not perfect. New addresses happen from day to day, new subdivisions, those kinds of things. It's constantly being updated, but it's really hitting the sweet spot in terms of those small businesses. The other thing that we did that was really exciting was for certain types of services, you had to pay GRT in spite of where your business was located. So if you're a doctor making house calls and you make a house call out in the county, you have to pay the county sales tax. Or in the county next door, you have to pay the county next door sales tax. So what we did for these types of businesses, we built, it's essentially a spreadsheet. You can think of it as a form, but it's really just a spreadsheet. And you can keep track of all of your sales in that spreadsheet. And when it comes time to calculate the sales tax, you can simply upload that spreadsheet, and it comes back with all of the relevant sales tax, and you can do your books a whole lot easier that way. these are two really cool things that kind of presented themselves as problems when we rolled out that Wayfair decision back in July of 2001. It took us about 6 months to go from, hey, we've got a problem, to, hey, we've got a solution for these problems. And we rolled it out last January. We did what we kind of call a quiet rollout, and rolled it out with a few businesses to make sure it was running smoothly. But now it's wide open. Anybody who needs it can come to our website and check it out, and hopefully they can do their tax business a little bit easier than they were doing it before.
Well, thanks, Mike. That's I was in the process. I knew about it when you were rolling out, this decision, and I know how much confusion there was. So it's really great that. Oh, sorry, it's my dog. Well,
the wonders of a podcast.
Let's add something to the. No, when you were rolling it out, it was such a heavy lift, and we did a webinar, and this is great because it sounds like you're making it really easy and friendly for businesses. The spreadsheet idea is like a no-brainer. So thank you so much for talking about the program, and I'm going to put the link. It's a long one. I think that's the right one that they can click on and find out more about those two tools. And then, Mike, thank you so much. Feel free to drop off. I'm just going to do my normal streaming of the weekly wrap-up, but I appreciate your time and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was fun. Hope you guys are having a good time out there in the world.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, we'll go ahead and transition again to the weekly wrap-up. We have a lot to cover, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. We have a new recovery resource, the New Mexico Care Health and Safety Grants. It's $2,500 for grants that are available for early child small businesses. What does it cover? What can the grant be used for? It can be used for health and safety costs incurred as a result of the public health emergency. So it's a first come, first serve basis. So, until the funds run out, the absolute deadline is May 27th, but it's first come, first serve. So I highly suggest that you apply right away. On the left-hand side are some events that I've previously mentioned, but I will mention them again. Joanna Nelson did a great pre-recorded webinar. If you want to learn more about SSBCI, you can just click on the link and you go directly to find out more about the program and what we're asking for as a request for interest. The Main Street folks are having their winter conference. It's all going to be virtual. It's later on this week, the 23rd and 24th at 1 p.m. It's packed with all these different presenters and topics, all surrounded by Main Street Arts and Cultural Districts. So it's going to be a great event. I highly recommend everybody to join that. And as well, I'm going to be hosting the Northeastern New Mexico Virtual Finance Fair, connecting business resources with business technical providers with businesses as well. So that's going to be on the 24th at noon. I have close to 25 speakers that will be there. So please plan to register as soon as possible. So working on our way down, we've kind of talked about a lot of these different things before, but on the article side, I want to highlight one specific article that, will affect every single person in New Mexico. New Mexico is ending its mask mandate effective immediately. There are certain exceptions to that, but feel free to click on the link and read the article for more details on specifically what the exceptions are. And then we also have a couple of articles about, various things for business that was passed this last legislative session. There's a Capital Investment Act that was passed, and there's an expansion and groundbreaking. The governor attended as well. And also the governor has backed legislation to reduce barriers for business. So that's good for everybody here. So I'm going to switch over to business resources. So hospitality and tourism are partnering again, and they are trying to help the hospitality and tourism areas of New Mexico. So it's this website that over 800 available jobs in these different industries. Employers are encouraged to submit their available jobs, and then of course employees can look at, or possible employees can look at that site as well. So that's a new initiative. The SBA announced the launch of an online learning platform for business women owners. It's to help them with government contracting and how to get started with that. Another new program is the Freed Fellowship Grant. It's a $500 monthly rolling grant for underrepresented founders to invest their ideas of existing business. And so if they receive the $500 grant, they are also possibly eligible for the end of the year grant of $2,500. We also have another fund coming up in 2022. There's 2 cohorts throughout 2022, and there's going to be 60 diverse founders that will be selected, 30 each cohort. And each one will receive $5,000 and access to valuable resources to reach their funding goals through crowdfunding campaigns. And so, but the caveat is that the business must be owned and operated by a woman of color. So that the deadline for the first cohort is March 4th. FedEx Small Business Grant. FedEx is having a new grant program. They're going to select 10 small businesses for up to $50,000 plus up to $4,000 in FedEx Office Print business services as well. So that deadline's coming up really quick. I think that's next week. So feel free to click on that and apply. And I'm going to go through these. We've already talked about them. Our highlight for this month or this week is the free college for all Mexicans. I've kind of talked to you about it at each of the live streams, but it was approved, and this will allocate $85.5 billion to cover full tuition and fees for all New Mexicans enrolled in a public secondary who are working towards a certificate, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree. So that's very exciting, and details to come with that soon. I'm gonna take a deep breath because we have several community resources. So Reconnect application window has been extended. I've talked about this in the past. It was going to be on February 22nd, but now the new deadline is March 7th. We also have the USDA has made up to $1.5 million for 10 grant opportunities available for minority servicing institutions to host a women's business center to provide local outcome-oriented businesses for female entrepreneurs. And so that opens March 14th. You can be a private business or a nonprofit that can apply for that. We also have some more preservation grants, specifically historic, agricultural, cultural, and that is March 1st. We have small funding available for research and development that accelerates large-scale development and deployment of solar technologies to support an equitable transition. So that opportunity the deadline is March 21st. The USDA will finance partnerships to support the production of marketing of climate smart commodities. It's a pilot program and it's from 1 to 5 years. The funding is in two pools of funding. So the first one closes April 8th. Pollution Prevention Grant, it funds 2-year pollution prevention assistance agreements for projects to provide technical assistance to help them develop and adapt resources. So deadline is April 11th. We also have the National Plant Conservation and Restoration Management Program that will work to increase quality, diversity, and effectiveness of native forbs and grasses to restore the wildlife habitat. We also have Future Manufacturing. The grant supports research and education that will enhance U.S. leadership in manufacturing. And how do they do that? It's increasing capacity for entrepreneurs, improving health, quality of life, national security, expanding jobs to diverse STEM workforce, reducing impact of manufacturing on the environment. We also have a Strengthen America infrastructure. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's funding to potentially transformative research aimed at strengthening America's infrastructure. And that is May 5th is the deadline. The Civic Innovation Challenge is research and action competition that accelerates transition to practice of fundamental research and emerging technologies. So that deadline is May 5th. So that was kind of a mouthful. So we have, the various ones that we've talked about in the previous wrap-ups. And then I just wanted to highlight a couple in case you missed it. This was the Small Business Recovery Loan Fund. You have until May 31st to apply for that. That's an attractive loan at 1.625% for 10 years. You can kind of read more about that automated tools that we mentioned, earlier. Mike Baca had talked about. You can click on here and go into the details of that. And some various community resources as well that we've talked about in the past. Upcoming events, we've got a lot of stuff going on. It seems like things are really gearing up. Got a lot of basic business startup planning post-COVID, pricing for profit. We have, the Asian Business Collaborative is having a webinar with the SBA. So that's very exciting. We also have Challenge America Grants Guidelines. You can learn more about that program. And what else we got here? We got the IRS small business workshops and listening sections. So a lot of different things going on. If you're interested in any of them, I believe these basic business webinars have a lot of information. I believe West is the ones that are doing it. So each week they have a different topic and they're all very applicable to businesses. So feel free to click on any of those. And then we also have our ongoing and on-demand and recently recorded. So we have a lot of the webinars here that are listed from, for EED, we can click on here as well, or also just the webinars for SCORE as well. So with that, I think I got just under 15 minutes, so that's going to be good. I was trying to talk fast. Once again, you can click on our website to find more about anything else. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, we're always on there. So with that, I'm going to say have a happy Monday, and we'll see you next Monday at noon. Thank you so much.